Sit down, Gunner. Good to have you here. I'm glad you're here. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're thankful that you are here. Welcome to Crossroad Christian Church. We have a very special presentation for you guys this afternoon. We've got folks from Treasured Vessels. Now, Miss Robbie, you're going to come first, right? You come speak first, and you're with Families. Families for Freedom. I love your accent. Where is it from? Oh my goodness. And then we got KD Sims is going to come up and talk to us as well. And tell me who you're with again. I okay, good. I was going to feel bad if you were like with somebody really like and I just messed it up. Shepherd's Watch Foundation. Oh, cool. Let's talk after. All right, cool. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. We're going to open with prayer. And there may be a few more people drifting in. It's keep seeing flashes, and I think it might be people zooming by. So if anybody comes in, just do your best to smile at them and then pay attention to these guys. All right, Father God, thank you for the opportunity to be able to be here and to learn something really important, Lord. We really need to know about what's going on around us, Father. There's a lot of evil in the world, Lord, and there are people that exploit others, and they make money off of wickedness. And Father, it's sick and it's sad, but we want to see it stop. We want to see it end. And we believe, Lord, that part of the process is learning how to identify it, Lord, learning how to help those who are involved in it to get out of it. And Father, we just ask in the name of Jesus that every person here is able to take some of what they learned today and to apply it, to be aware, to have our eyes open, to have our hearts open to those that are in need. Many people that are in these situations don't know Jesus at all, Father. And just help us to be receptive to your Holy Spirit and how we respond, and help us to listen to these people who have given their time to come up and to tell us about their ministry and how people can be helped. And we lift all this up to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Y'all give Miss Robbie a hand.
How about that? Is that a little better? Okay, thank you. All right, as you heard, I'm Robbie, and I have actually been with Families to Freedom for 4 years. But before I actually talk about families themselves, um, my speech or presentation, it is quite strong, ladies and gentlemen, because of the work that we do. But I feel it's very important that we say it as it is. So I'm going to start off with a little something off the wall, because I can see you're all over 21. And I want to ask you, and I'm going to use myself as an example. I have a tattoo. I got mine when I was 40. So you don't need to wave at high or anything, but just kind of give me the wink if you've had a tattoo in your lifetime. Come on, come on. Don't. So modest, so modest. Okay, you don't need to tell me why you had it, but tell me who's been branded on purpose. No one, I hope. Well, I want to tell you about an experience as we walked through about the first time I had the pleasure of picking up a client, which is what we call our victims, and seeing a brand on her chest. That was, if there was never a wake-up before, that was a wake-up. So, a little about me. I drove for Families to Freedom for 3 years, meaning all I did was drive to a location and pick up ladies or gentlemen, and very often children, and we call them clients, as I mentioned. And I'm going to walk you through quickly how that goes about, but I do want you to know that Families to Freedom, we're in our 10th year. This is our 10th year anniversary. Okay, so I'm just going to, this is our mission. This is all we do is drive. We get all kinds of subsidies, from food to groceries to tissues to overnight bags, everything for our clients. But we will go to where the abused victim is, we will take them, and we will drive them to safety. That is our sole goal. And unfortunately, we're the only one in Texas. No one else has stepped up to the plate. Now, there are other great organizations, nonprofit, that do a lot of similar, including the counseling and staying in a location for a long period of time. We do not do that. We take them to safety. And once they are either in an abuse shelter or we've driven them across country, we follow up with that client for up to a month. We'll call a couple of days later. If it's a shelter, make sure they're settling in. If they're not, we'll take them elsewhere. We never leave them. Never. And after a month, by then, they've either moved on to where they want to be, or we will go back and we will drive them. And I say that because my friend Marianne and Kohar is here today, and she just came back from Michigan. She drove 2 days to Michigan with a client and her daughter. So she's 2 nights on the road going up and 2 nights on the road coming back. That is what a volunteer does. You can use our car or you can use your own. But if you're coming to us as a volunteer, you better have another job or be independent wealthy, because volunteer doesn't mean a large wage, as you well know. So having said all that, I'm going to show you a couple of things. The one thing, oh, hello. No, it's the right is the one going forward. Am I right? That was the first one. Okay. I'm not going to, there's too many statistics on this, and if you could read all these, you're better than me. So what I want, all these first few that I'm going to show are outside on the table. And basically what it's showing you is the number of victims last year. The number of clients per se was 1,275 last year, 2025. And then we drove another 1,206 children, obviously with the client. So sometimes we're driving one client, sometimes we're driving 3 or 5, and dogs. We take your animals. Everything except untold reptiles. Similarly, someone had a snake get out one time and it was all over. So, oh, yes, I move around a lot. I'm so sorry. I get a little restless. feet here. So, is this the mic is on, right? Okay, I can't see my screen. That's okay, don't worry. I can go sideways. When I tell people will say to me, "You're retired, what are you doing? Are you playing golf? Are you pickleball," which of course is the new craze, or whatever? I'll say, "No." "Well, what do you do?" I says, "Well, I try to give back to the community because I myself had struggles when I was newly married and young and things didn't work out. And if I didn't have a good friend, that could have been me running. You just don't know what's out there, and I'm happy to give back." So back in the day, as I mentioned, the annual report, we had Houston and Dallas. Now we have 2 more. Sad, but true. Our job attached to the office, volunteer and office workers, is to do ourselves out of a job. Does that make sense? Will it be next year? No. Won't be in my lifetime, unfortunately. It won't be in my lifetime. So what we're going to do is, how can you help? Well, it's simple. Help us. You can't drive, that's no problem. We'd love your gently used purses. Why? Because when we have a lady client, when we go to pick her up, we take her a gently used purse. It's full of cash cards, tissues, overnight toiletries, and whatever else appropriate to the season. Because when I go to a hospital to pick up a lady, she's wearing scrubs, and she has nothing. If I go to the police station, same thing. Many times there's nothing, and if there is something, it's a black or white trash bag. So they are more than grateful. If there's children, we take a backpack, simple backpack. It'll have, we call them healthy snacks. The little fishy things, what do you call these? Yes, them. I like them myself, so if there's an extra one along the way. And then we will give them a soft toy. If it's a young boy, or depending on age, it might be an appropriate game or maybe a stuffed toy. But they are going to have their own bag of goodies. Because we've all got children we know of that you would prefer just to put out the window and drive off. So we don't do that. The parents frown on it. So travel blankets, especially when you go to Michigan in the winter. We don't have a lot of that in Texas, thank goodness. And then the fast food. So I really went through these because I wanted us to have an open session. I didn't show you a lot of statistics. People often say to me, watch your audience, because if it's mostly men, they just want statistics. That's a man thing. Gentlemen, thank you for that. If it's women, they want stories. So I gave you our statistics for last year. I've given you our miles since 2016. How many volunteers do we have in the Dallas office? Well, at least 40 regular ones. And as soon as we confirm that a client is ready to go, after they make the initial phone call into us, there is a text that goes out to all of the volunteers, and it says, we have a drive. It's from so-and-so to so-and-so. If it's in Fort Worth, I'm not driving to Fort Worth, forgive me, unless I desperately have to, because there's plenty of volunteers in Fort Worth. If it's Dallas, and I live in far north Dallas, depending on the time of day, I will drive downtown. If I don't, it's not an issue. We have drivers downtown. If it's North Dallas, which unfortunately for us all is the fastest growing community the wrong way in regard to abuse. It's new homes, new schools, new jobs, and what do they all bring? They can all bring a degree of concern, worry, meeting new people, and that all plays out in these scenarios. My last client was 83, and that was last Thursday, 83. And I picked her up at the police station. All right, let's have some conversation. I'm sure I'm speaking honestly here when I say if not you, if not a friend of yours or a family member, you have watched TV. Safe bet, you have seen what goes on in this world, unfortunately, and not just in other countries. Not in other countries. So how can we, as Families to Freedom, improve what we do? Anyone, any suggestions? Well, I'm going to tell you what we do. Yes, Jessica. We get a lot of our clients come in on a hotline. We have our own hotline, but also all the police, fire brigade, people of knowledge, people that are other volunteers. I go to a lot of networking events for nonprofits, and they're all in a similar business. Because the better you network and work with other people, the more support. And support is so important to me. I don't ever want to think I'm out there alone. And neither does Families to Freedom, for that matter. So once the call comes, it goes to our first responder. And she will stay on the phone with that person 20 to an hour, making sure that person has a genuine need. 99% they do. There's the odd person that really just wants a ride to Walmart. That is not common. Please understand that. But it has happened. Once we confirm there's a need, then our first responder will pass them off to a counselor and an office person. And they will work with that person until we find them a safe place. We'll find out where they are or where they can go to be safe. Sometimes it's tomorrow, sometimes it's next week. The majority are today. On average, we get anywhere from 5 to 10 calls a day needing drivers. So, it's not one in a million. Please understand that. It's ongoing constantly. That's why we're always looking for strong volunteers. Now, I use the word strong in the nicest way, meaning this is not for everyone. You are trained. We do give you good training to take you out there. We'll go with you on your first or second or how many drives it takes to feel comfortable. And still, we will get ladies and men who have the best of intentions, but once he's heard 3 stories, they don't want to hear any more. But what we do is once we know where we're going to pick that client up, we as drivers are tracked the whole time. We're not out going to Michigan or Florida or anywhere else without support. If I pull in a gas station and I'm sitting for 10 minutes, my tracker is on the phone to me. What are you doing? They're with you constantly, and they book your hotel to make sure it's safe. If I'm going to a shelter, they'll call the shelter 5 minutes before I get there so they know I'm coming. If it's going to a family member in California, the office person is on the phone with that person constantly, letting them know where I am, when they're arriving, making sure they're still welcome. And in fact, before we do go on a cross country, we double check 2 or 3 times with that person that they definitely have room. We're not wanting to take them to somewhere that they're going to be in a room 10 by 10 with 3 children. Got to have the right facilities. We drop them off, and when I drop someone off with a family member, it is such a wonderful feeling because they're home. They're home. And the last thing I want to say is, and think about this, the one thing, if I'm taking someone out of state, they have to be more than 100 miles from their abuser. Any idea why? They'll go back. Not only that, worse, the abuser can find them. Because if they're going to a family member and that abuser has been with that client for 10 years, they're going to know family members. And quite often they'll be chased. I've been chased, not chased is not the right word, but there's no phones in the cars, certainly if they ask to make a specific call to someone, that's fine. But this way, with the phones turned off, they can't be tracked. I've had one drive that had drones, and the police had to be called. But we never approach that client without knowing about the abuser. So if we see that color of truck and that kind of gentleman there, we keep going and we call the office, they get the police involved, and so forth. But we never leave the person, never. And my worst case in that was, they told me that to watch out for the gentleman, he did this kind of truck and he looked like that, but then they said, and he has 3 teardrops down one eye. So of course, in all innocence, oh, teardrops, that's kind of an odd tattoo. And then of course it's explained to me why he has 3 teardrops. The good news is I never met up with him. But I would never have neglected my client, and I would have stayed to the end. So I'm here for questions now. I'm here for questions afterwards. If you want to volunteer, I want you to go to, normally I have business cards, but today I do not because they're not coming in till tomorrow. But out on one of the desks is a lot of information about Families to Freedom, including our website. You can go on there, volunteer, you can talk to me personally, or if you would like to donate or sponsor, come on down. We'll be happy to show you our set of offices and how everything is managed. Thank you. Okay. I'm leaving everything gently here. Okay?
I did not memorize my slides, and I learned from Robbie that I'm bringing my laptop up here, so thank you. Hi, I'm Jessica from Treasured Vessels Foundation, and we have 2 safe houses in Collin County. We provide safe, secure housing for women 18 to 24 coming out of human trafficking. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your interest and your kind heart to come and learn more today. So many of you probably already know that Texas is the 2nd largest for human trafficking in the country, and that means the most cases. And 79,000, roughly, give or take, because we really don't know the true number, are minors and youth victims in Texas. North Texas, where we all probably live, I don't know how far you have come today, is a major trafficking hub. Hidden in plain sight too, it can be healthcare, schools, hotels. It can be anywhere. It can be in your neighborhood. It's not always what it looks like in the movies. And it's not always kidnapping. A lot of the times it happens through manipulation and grooming and coercion. They're exploited often through relationships, which sometimes starts online, which starts with grooming or survival sex. The average entry for Texas and the nation is ages 12 through 14 for girls. During this time that they're trafficked, often people say, why didn't they leave? Why didn't they just exit the door? Because often they could just walk out the door. But unfortunately, trauma bonds can occur. It's also fear-based, and they also keep the victims trapped. And unfortunately, 44% of trafficked victims were trafficked by family members. And that is the most shocking statistic for me. Often it's through, yes, difficult situations, but 44% they're trafficked by their own family members. That could be a parent, a grandfather, an uncle, or somebody in their family. This is the current legislation that we're tracking right now. So there's House Bill 742 in Texas, which focuses on prevention and awareness and requires human trafficking training for first responders, which is very, very important. And there's also House Bill 610 in the Senate, which adds new anti-trafficking activities section to Occupations Code. This has to do with licensing standards and trafficking prevention, which is, even though we're at TBF, we're on the other side, we're on the healing side, prevention is important to us, and that's why we're here today, to provide education for prevention. There's a couple more House bills, but HR 4323 is very important to our heart. This bill creates a process to vacate convictions and expunge arrest records for victims of human trafficking, because often they are convicted while they're being trafficked, and so I'm watching that one really closely. This is the Survivors Relief Act. On any given night, here in Dallas-Fort Worth, 400 girls are trafficked. At any given time, whether those girls were redeemed or restored, there's only around 35 beds available in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for survivors. That means 1 in 10 have a safe place to go, and the other 9 do not, unfortunately. But coming to the safe place to go, like at TBF, we work with partners like Families to Freedom, and they're able to find a safe bed. This is what we do at Treasured Vessels. Like I said, we are on the other side, we're on the restoration side. So we provide safe homes for survivors, mental health services. Here today, we're educating churches. We do at schools as well. We provide case management and often work with other advocates that have following these children since they were 12 or 15. We have one client, survivor, that's coming this week, and she has been working with her advocate since she was about 16 years old. She's now an adult and ready for freedom. So we also educate healthcare providers, we partner with law enforcement, and we do community outreach. One of the outreaches that we do is working with local businesses. So in our phase 2, we have the women where they're transitioning into college or the workforce. And this is one of our social enterprises, which she has created a line. Her name is Courtney Baker, and she has Bloom Gallery. She's at the cotton mill here in McKinney, and she has created a line of jewelry called Treasured Blooms, and the earrings were made by survivors. A lot of the earrings were, and it goes towards helping women exit from human trafficking. So Treasured Vessels provides holistic paths for healing for women 18 to 24. Like I said before, we have a focus on mental health and physical wellness, and a safe place to sleep and be housed. We operate a safe home designated for stability and security, and a place to heal. Women in our program, just like Robbie, she calls her clients, we have a word for them too. They're called resident interns, because they're not just survivors or victims to us, but they are a person ready to heal and be going back into society, affecting generations that come after them and their communities. They build healthy coping skills while they are with us, break trauma response cycles, and learn from trusting relationships. Our mission is we provide a Christ-centered community that restores survivor of sex trafficking to achieve their true potential. And our 2025 vision, we started a second safe home, which is our transitional housing to being out in the workforce and completely independent. Here's a little bit of a timeline of our history. So in 2016, TBF was founded. So we're actually celebrating our 10 years too, so maybe we should collaborate with something. But in 2020, the doors of our first TBF safe home was opened. And then in 2021, we got to own that house, so now we own it. And then 2024, we switched gears from going to a long-term to a short-term, 6 months instead of a year or 2 years. And in 2025, like I said before, we opened up phase 2 of our residential program, which is the second safe home, a transition between healing and being independent. This is a little bit more about phase 1. So it's a 6-month residential program designed to provide immediate safety and stability. During these 6 months, they're provided counseling, therapy, life skills training, career readiness. One of the things that we do is we have a volunteer that comes in and teaches them culinary skills throughout the last year. So learning family recipes, how to cook, a lot of them come in with no documentations, no social security card, no driver's license. And so we help them get all their documents. One lady a few months ago, a young lady learned how to drive for the first time. She was so excited. She got her driver's license. Now she's working 2 jobs. she was out of our phase 1 and went straight into living independently from our phase 1, which is excellent. And so she also got accepted at Collin College, but she ended up going straight into the workforce, and she's doing amazing. Here's a quote from a resident. Before TVF, I didn't think I would ever feel safe again. Now I know I have a future. A lot of the times when women come to our safe house, they can't think in the future. They're thinking in the past, in their trauma, and it plays over and over again in their minds. So this is something that's very important to us. When they can start thinking about the future, that's when you know healing is happening. Phase 2, I talked a little bit about this. This is also 6 months, but they can reapply and stay longer if they need to. So these women have gone through their healing journey where they don't work and they're completely focused on healing and being safe. But in phase 2, often they are entering the workforce. They can go to school. They can take vocational training or begin building savings. This is also too where they learn how to budget, how to be ready financially so they can be on their own. We still maintain the safety and accountability of our practices, and there's still a program, but it's a little bit more independence. One recent resident from this program said, "The transitional home gives me a safe place to grow while I work and go to school. It's the bridge between healing and independence." So I asked a little bit about Robbie's referral sources, and I'll talk a little bit about ours. So most of our referrals for women coming in are from anti-trafficking organizations, and like one of them is Traffic 911, so we're working with that organization this week from a young lady transitioning from being a child into an adult to whom we serve. And we also do self-referrals, so often young women will come in and say, "I think I need somewhere to land. I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to be free." So that's self-referral. And then we also have community partners. That's folks like you. So that could be your church. That could be other organizations that are not necessarily focused on human trafficking. Sometimes it's family members, community partners, and law enforcement, and lastly, hospitals. When they are ready to be picked up, we often use resources like Families to Freedom, and there's a national organization we work with called NOMI. When we take them in, we have an intake process, and one of the things that we assess them with is the ACE assessment. This assesses emotional and physical abuse in their life, sexual abuse, household dysfunction, and neglect and instability. And understanding this assessment will help us to know what kind of care they need and helping them to break cycles of abuse and fostering healing and resilience in survivors. A lot of these are indicators of risks. So I know when Christy and Shannon first talked to me, they said that with the World Cup coming and safety for young people, so some young women that are at risk have experienced these things. So these are risk factors. Our program focus is medical and dental care, self-defense. We also have training and fitness. We have a mentorship program through our volunteers, daily Bible studies. We provide legal care and legal aid because often these women of human trafficking survivors have either cases against their traffickers or open cases against them, and so we can assist in that area. Financial literacy, career readiness, culinary skills, like I said before, and alumni peer mentorship. That means that, okay, so a couple weeks ago we had a graduate come and visit the safe house and come talk to the residents there that are still in the program, and she was able to be a peer for them and show them what it's like to be out of the program, and she just kind of poured into them, and it was amazing. So they do often come back and want to serve the residents that are still there at TVF, which is amazing. I did talk about some of the impact stories. Sometimes our residents unfortunately have substance abuse from their trafficking time, and So there are two residents that are celebrating 1 year of sobriety this March, which is amazing. And we have family reunited. One of them got their master's degree, a new identity, and we just recently had a young lady get a scholarship, and she just passed an exam to start working. So we have wonderful stories to share, and I'm happy to share more in more detail later. So a lot of people are surprised to see the sources of our funding are not from grants. It's from individuals, people like you and our community partners. And then we do have special events. We have a concert coming up, a benefit concert celebrating our 10 years. There's a QR code if you'd like to sponsor or follow to get tickets. And then we also have grants and corporations and companies. So this is a breakdown of where we get our funding. Am I okay on time? Okay, I have a little movie. It's movie time. Can you press play? Por favor.
grief and anger be swept away.
I'm sorry the audio was kind of bad. I thank you for listening to that. And if you notice, one of the words that one of our first residents said was forgiveness. So that's something that we definitely work on at TBF, and it's something that the Lord walks with us on. And so I just thank you for listening today, and I'd love to connect with you and hear your story and hear your questions too, and partner with you to making this obsolete. I come into agreement with Robbie. Put me out of a job, please. Thank you.
Thank y'all all for being here. And thank both these organizations for doing what they do. There's not a lot of people that will get involved, and we need more to do that. I'm going to read just a little bit about what Shepherd's Watch is, and then I'll kind of pivot from that and tell you what I do. So Shepherd's Watch Foundation is a 501(c) nonprofit organization headquartered in Frisco, dedicated to combating sex trafficking through investigative intelligence, prevention, education, and survivor aftercare. Founded in 2020 by a team of licensed private investigators and victim advocates, SWF has rapidly established itself as a unique force multiplier for law enforcement at all levels. In a sector dominated by awareness-only organizations, SWF stands apart as the first and only nonprofit in Texas deploying proprietary technology toolkits and field-level investigative operations to illuminate and dismantle sex trafficking networks. Since inception, SWF has conducted 67 operations, helped identify over 805 victims, and currently monitors more than 3,600 suspected trafficking locations across Texas. Some of their main focus is investigative intelligence, preventative education, and survivor aftercare. All these organizations do great work, but what we're lacking is people to volunteer and to be sets of eyes in the community. As of currently, just in Plano, Texas alone, there are 102 illicit massage businesses just in Plano. As earlier speaker said, North Texas is a hub for this. And what I do, I'm retired from the school system. Back in 2016, I got into politics and personal protection, children's advocate. So I do a lot of different stuff. But what people don't know is how vulnerable our kids are. Do y'all know that last year, over 200 incidents that we know about with inappropriate relationship between school staff and students across Texas? Over 200. There have been a lot this year already. The trend is not slowing down. Last year set a record. The year before that set a record. So what I do is I speak at a lot of council meetings. I speak at a lot of board meetings. My wife and I have 35 years, have 7 grandbabies. We have grandchildren in that 12 to 14 age range. Folks, this is very, very crucial that we all get involved and understand that our children are so vulnerable. This starts at an early age for some, unfortunately. So I'm I'm an advocate for children. I get up and speak in front of board meetings that don't like me to speak. They don't want to hear me speak because I bring the facts out and I expose them. Another issue that we're having, and this is in Frisco, and y'all probably know about this, but there's a couple of businesses in Frisco that I would say are very, very bad for our community. When you have waitresses showing up to work in G-strings and very few bikini tops where kids can go, why are we allowing this? The state has taken away a lot of power from the local cities being able to do anything. But as y'all heard Treasurer Vester talk about, there are some bills out there that we really need people to push on. And that means calling your legislators. How many know your state legislators? It's unacceptable, folks. How many know who your school board members are, your council members are? Very sad. We can't make a difference if we don't get involved. And you always don't have to go to a meeting and speak, but you don't understand how powerful your participation and your voice can be in a community. I know all my state legislators, I know my council members, my school board members, my commissioners. I know everybody in my community because I've taken the time to learn that information. I go to Austin and testify. That's another big part that people can do. But my main objective in my community is to get people involved to understand that we have a crisis in North Texas. And I just focus on North Texas. But this is a worldwide issue, it's a countrywide issue, and it's definitely a statewide issue. I'm happy to talk to any of you, to give you pointers, to give you direction, as these other organizations are. But we all have to work together to make sure that we understand that this crisis is not going away. And we have to get involved as parents and grandparents and as community leaders and citizens and taxpayers to understand the brutal evil that is after our children. And I'll say it again, last year over 200 incidents that we know about. School districts, you pay the taxes for. They work for us. We don't work for them. So we need more voices out there to put pressure on districts, cities, and counties, even your judges, to help us fight this battle that we're losing. So I hope all of you will think about what everybody here had to say today. I hope you find it in your heart to get involved in it. And let's help save this next generation. Thank y'all. God bless. More cards coming. Anybody have any questions for any of us? There's a lot of good plans, but just speaking for me, folks, it's very important that we watch around you all the time. Like when I see a child going through a store like a Walmart or a Kroger or Retail, and that parent's not paying attention to where that child is, say something. Say something. Be careful getting in your cars by yourself. Take your phone out of your ear. Watch your surroundings about what you're doing. We know a young lady that was trafficked last year, and it happened because of the gaming industry. Watch what your kids are playing online. If you're on social media, put the filters on there. There is more stuff that happens on Facebook Marketplace than you could ever imagine. Agreed? Facebook, Instagram, X, all the platforms. sell it from agency. No, you need to watch. And why our society allows this, I have no idea. Y'all may have some more suggestions on the signs, but I read body language when I'm out. When my bride's out shopping, I'm not watching her shop. I'm watching people around her. I'm watching for the kids that are by themselves. I'm watching for the man that never lets go of somebody's hand. There's all kind of stuff out there you need to watch for.
One of the things you can look for is if somebody is not allowed to speak for themselves. So often the trafficker will be the one answering all the questions and not allowing the person who's trafficked to speak. You can also look for certain markings. I've heard of a case where a woman came in, she only had one shoe on, and same thing, like a firm grip, and he looked like he was gonna beat somebody up, and so there is a hotline that you can call, the crisis hotline for human trafficking tips that you can just call there. You can also always call 911, but those are some things that you can look for. But I come into agreement with what he was saying about your own children is watching what they're doing online, because if they're spending a lot of time on their computer or their devices and they come home with new merchandise, like a new bag that you know that they couldn't afford with their Chick-fil-A job, those are things that you can look for. Sudden change in appearance, also sudden change in how they're acting, like they were really bubbly and now they're kind of introverted and depressed and having a lot of emotional upheaval. Those are things that you can look for.
I was very privileged a couple of years ago. I was on the political commission. I spent several months at the border. And all the stuff you come across the border, just so you keep this in the back of your head. So there were several times that I would see 25 men come across that border, and they had one child with them. No females. They were all men. Wasn't anything I could do about it. But that's the kind of stuff that we see happening even here in North Texas. So you just have to put your thinking cap on and say, what would I do in that position? Or would I be caught in that position the way that happened?
I'm getting you. So, this, or even this, if it's someone sitting on an inside seat at a restaurant, as soon as the person's not looking at them, they'll go. One of the things I learned through working with Truckers of America, believe it or not, I'm active with them because they have an organization within their organization for men when they are women, when they're driving and they're pulling into truck stops, gas stations. If there's a young girl going from truck to truck, if there's someone standing outside the cafeteria, head down, obviously not dressed for a day at church, you just walk past them slowly and just say, I'm going inside for a cup of coffee. If you want to talk, just follow me in. I'll protect you. You don't need to say it loud, obviously. If there's a man or another woman, because women traffic too, standing next to them, you can't do that. But hopefully you can at least make some eye contact, so they know that as soon as they get in or sit down next to you, you're in a better place. So I want it to start in school. I want this kind of education to start in high school. I have 4 grandchildren, 22, 20, 18, all girls. I think my son is going to have heart failure one day. And then a boy, 15. His job's to take care of his sisters. Just ask him. But, you know, he's just entered high school. The other 3 are in university. And I hear stories out of that university constantly. It needs to be high school, the 12 to 14, who, you know, your parents can't tell you anything when you're that age. Just ask them. Then the high school. And it's talk about peer pressure. If we thought we had it bad, believe me, it's not about who's wearing socks and who's not anymore. It goes a lot deeper. We're growing up way too fast. That's all I've available to speak ourselves, together or as individuals, at any activity you might have.
I wish more churches would do this. I'm trying to get into the conversation with food. Nobody wants to do it.
Doesn't happen in my church, my school, my home.
Only 3% of churches in Collin County, according to the Engage Together data, are involved with the fight against human trafficking in Collin County. So I was telling Shannon and Christy that you guys are very rare, so thank you so much for having us. And it's very special that this church is saying not today, so thank you. Is there any other questions? So, this legislation is not my specialty, but maybe you know more information about it. I think Kyle would be a good answer for that.
People need to know who the state legislators are and who the state for, because the state drives 90% of this. Because the legislators, they have a lot of power in the legislation in this job. And it's very, very important. Just drop a letter, drop an email, drop a phone call to your state legislator and talk them through it. They're 3 times as many lobbyists and all do as the legislators are. That little guy at the bottom don't have money, don't have power. You have to overpower them to get their way. It's not bad. It takes a long time to conduct an investigation on something like this. But the main problem is nobody knows. Nobody pays attention. And one thing I would love to appreciate, how many years ago was this nowadays used to stay home? You know, a lot of kids go to this country. They didn't pay attention. Why do we have that rule in place? Because they're not being pressed on economic development. They're not being pressed on making homes and building homes. And they should not be pressing the state legislators to comply. When y'all allow such a rotten schedule to kids in the middle Central Texas, and it's a not all that far. If you go to maybe like the state, get this. There's a young girl that went through this. So to talk about knowledge and education at that kind of high, you can learn a whole lot by taking this. You can also learn a lot by identifying those hidden or southern food gaps that we need to scrub up first. Because quite frankly, a lot of our food gaps are very insignificant.
Well, our first goal is to get them out of there and away. And if there's police involved from the beginning, then that becomes a police matter for the person that was doing the abusing. But these women, they are too scared. And men, please don't get me wrong, we drive men, please understand that. They're just too scared. They just want to leave it behind. They want away. They can't forget it. I went with Jessica a couple of weeks ago to watch a movie called Still hope. And in that situation, these girls, as Jessica said, 2 years, 2 to 3 years to get back on their feet. They are petrified their abusers are coming after them. I mean, I mentioned to you about the first lady I picked up that was branded. She was in a horrendous state. She came out a motel window, out a bathroom window where I picked her up. Until you hear the stories, I picked women up under trees because one lady walked 5 miles to get to a tree when her abuser was sleeping. These abusers are usually working either a stable, and I'm sure you know what I mean by stable, number of girls, and some girls are left alone while others are taken out, etc., etc. But the abuser's not with them 24 hours, but they may have spoken or gotten them into such a state, there's no way they're going. And then maybe they saw something that happened to another person in that stable, or God spoke, whatever it is, they get that light. You've got 10 minutes, make the best use of it. Or they've stolen a cell phone, and they've called us, and that's all it takes. Now, we will personally, the volunteers themselves will not go to the abuser's house because Families to Freedom will not allow us to put our life in jeopardy. But I know you all know about the case of the abuser who was chasing a lady who was a volunteer, not with our group, to take a client to safety, and the abuser caught up with them and shot the woman. This was in Fort Worth in the fall of last year. It's all around you. And it'll only get better when we start being more aware. Did that answer your question? Someone mentioned the World Cup is coming to America. Okay, Dallas alone will have 2.3 million people here. And people say, oh, that's great. But what I see and think is the underbelly's coming too. So Byron Nelson is in a couple of months. Same thing. And that's all in North Dallas, except for the actual games themselves in Arlington. But the players are going to be staying in Frisco. The World Broadcasting is here in Dallas as well. They're staying in North Dallas. The clients are all staying in North Dallas. It's not just happening in Ireland. Please understand that. They're only there 3 or 4 hours.
Yes, for us, it starts with a volunteer application, and then they have to sign an NDA. They have to go through a 5-hour training. They have a background check, and there's an interview process where it starts off with one interviewer and then they interview with another team member, and of course we pray about it also and get to meet this person in person, and that's for all of our volunteers. And to be in the house, to be a house volunteer is even more extensive, but we do definitely go through a safety list and a process for all of our volunteers. If you're just volunteering at our concert, it's going to be like a little bit different. You're not going to have resident interns there, but we do have pretty much the same process for all of our volunteers, a little more extensive for our house volunteers.
It's fabulous.
I have information on my table for the movie Still Hope. We collaborated with that movie with Collide Media, and we created some resources for them, so including a workbook. We have parent and family member resources. We also have a checklist. You were asking earlier about the warning signs for trafficking, so I have a few of those printed out today if you'd like to take that with you so that you can use that as a resource for your family or your church. And it's an amazing movie, a story about a young lady who is trafficked. She does get free, and most of the movie is actually after she's free, and it shows her process of freedom and forgiveness and healing. And so it shows her story. There's also a couple other stories. This is based off a true story, 2 young ladies that this story is based off of. And there's a lot of other community partners, including Refuge for Women and Hope House also as well. So it's a wonderful movie. It is a tearjerker, but it's true and it's authentic. And I believe that it's an ethical story and a true story. She was 16 and then recovered when she was 18. It's going to be streaming on Angel and also a couple other platforms. Right now, as a church, you can actually house a showing, and we are going to be working with some churches to have a showing. And so I'm already working with some other churches in the area. And so if you're interested in that, come see me after.